So this is legit first start. No trick photography, no pre-starting, no cranking it and letting it run and then making sure it'll crank every time. This is legit the first start. All right, so let's see what we got. Man, ain't got no fuel. Oh, don't sound like we're getting any fuel. I may have missed a plug or something up there. Yeah, I've missed something. Let's go check these plugs, like all the electrical plugs and all that, and let this battery charge some more, and make sure we don't have any fluid leaks or anything. But I did actually prime the oil pump earlier before I started just cranking right now, but I hadn't had the coils or anything hooked up. They're hooked up now, but we're not getting any. Yeah, there's something we're not getting. So, all right, let me see what we're not getting, and then we'll try it again. All right, here we go. Okay, so I did find where the ECU goes. There's a gray plug I missed. It was down in the thing, and for some reason I didn't plug it up. Let's hope that's all. All right, here we go. Uh-oh. She tried. Battery's weak as crap. I don't even know if it's in gear or not. Yeah, we'll let this battery charge some more. I don't have the drive shaft hooked up. I don't have the shifter in it, so I don't know if it's in gear or not. I put some oil in the transmission. I don't know that I topped it off, but it was running out the hole. But the transmission was down a little bit, so I do need to check that. Yeah, we'll let it charge a little while, and we'll see if it'll come to life here in a few minutes. So, all right, here we go. Okay, so we're gonna give it a whirl here. Let it charge a little bit. The curiosity's killing me. See what's going on with it. Well, it runs. that needs attached, I think. It was running a little warm and I burped it, so I just kept, what I would do is I would put the cap on, crank it, let it start coming up to temperature, shut it off, leave the fans on, and just leave it alone for a while. And I'd come back when it's cold, cool, take the cap off where there's no pressure on it, and it would need a bunch of water, so I'd put a bunch of water in it, put the cap on it, crank it, let it run for a while, and it would shift some water around. And then when it started getting up to temperature, then shut it off, leave the fans on and stuff where it cools the radiator. If it gets too warm doing that, you can crank the car back for just a minute and it'll start cooling it back down. Did that a few times, and now the temperatures are staying about 150 with the fans on. I hadn't cut them back off yet, so I'm just checking for oil leaks and water leaks. I did have an oil leak and a water leak. The water leak, I'm notorious for doing the thermostat housings, about not getting them too tight. If you've watched any of my videos, you've seen me do that, where I have to go back and I've got a water leak and it's the thermostat housing. I've stripped a couple over the years, and the upper oil pan was leaking, and I went back through and all the bolts, I could get a little something on them. So recheck your work. That was definitely an issue, and they're super hard to get to once they're down there. Once it's set in the car, you can barely get to the outside. Luckily it was two of the further ones back that had a little bit of slack in them. Maybe I missed them when I torqued it or whatever, so it had a little leak on the passenger side. I found them, snugged them up, fired it back up, sat there for 20 minutes or so and just let it run. Kept an eye on leaks, keep an eye on the temperatures. I think it's ready to bring off the lift and take to the house and park it. So I do have the downpipe's got an exhaust leak pretty bad. I think where I've got the turbo blanket on the turbo and the downpipe comes up to it and the V-band's on it, I think that V-band might be a little tweaked. So I think I'll pull that turbo blanket off and check the V-band, make sure it's on right. If I've got it kind of janky or something, that may be my exhaust leak. If not, it's going to be the actual turbo manifold leaking on the head, and I've got those bolts tight. The ones I could reach, I did reach in there and try to tighten them. I couldn't get any more on them, and if that doesn't stop, one of two things: we're either leaving it, or maybe the turbo manifold might have a crack in it. But if we can't get it stopped, we either leave that joker or we'll pull the turbo manifold off and double gasket it, which is probably going to be the less likely of the two. I doubt I'm going to pull this turbo manifold back off, at least not until I do something different with the shop or something. We got so much more I still have to finish, and I hadn't really, I thought I was ahead, doing a little better than what I was. I still got a lot to do. I had some guys came and buy that Del Sol, so it's gone. I thought they were going to buy the Civic too, the purple EK, so I thought I had a little slack time, you know, to do some stuff, and it's not the case. They didn't buy that car, so I still got to do a head gasket on that. My son's car, waiting on the parts to come do a transmission on that, and the S13. And I've got a couple more out here to move and junk, and I got to cut some cats off of one, and worst case I'll just sell that car with the cats on it, try to get, you know, top dollar if I can without having to cut the cats off. Scraps down, so it's not worth a ton, but cats, they're down too pretty bad. So what's it worth right now to not be able to move and be trying to worry about junk? So that's the least of my problem. So the ones that are either junkers or I'm not sure about, I'm gonna let them sit till the last minute, and then we'll just haul them, you know, if I can't get them out. But I still got to get moved. I've got 31 days right now, but yeah, this is where I'm at. This car, I don't want to call it done yet. I do have to try to hide some wires and the ECU, the aftermarket ECUs up front. There's so much junk up here. There's nowhere really for it to go, so I'm just gonna stick it over behind the where I had it before, right around the brake booster, kind of shoved down in there. Got some vacuum lines I've got to straighten up, and that downpipe. And once I do all that, that should be close to it. So I mean, as long as if it's the downpipe, I can fix that in just a few minutes, and the rest of it probably wouldn't take an hour. So a couple hours, I'd say at best, maybe a little more. But it's been sitting here idling the whole time I've been talking, and it's only 172, and it had been running before. And it does that too. So like if you give it a little throttle, it'll die. And it's got a, maybe when the thermostat opens, it makes a change in the note of the car, or the sound of it. But I do have the exhaust on now, so it's still making exhaust noise up front. I've got to figure that out. It's pretty loud actually, so I think it's definitely that downpipe. I may be wrong. Maybe cheap eBay header, it's warped or something. At this point, I don't really know. Yeah, I think I'm about to call it a day. It's getting late again. We may move some cars tomorrow. Art came and got his trailer today. He was using it for a while. I had it borrowed when we were going drifting and whatnot, but he did come get it today. So tomorrow, he talked about might come here and take, if I decide I'm done with this and the S14 to my house, and then haul the SC400 and the blue hatch to his house. I'm giving him the SC400 to put my old B16 swap. It's a built B16, 84.5 millimeters sleeved, top R cams, Eagle crank. Had a twin disc clutch. I forget the name of it. It's not a spec one. It's a purple one from years ago. It's an old school deal. I think it's a B16 trans with a LS 5th gear. It does have LSD in it. It's an aftermarket. It's OBX. I bought an OBX LSD back when that was a thing. So that's been in that thing for years. Got a top R valve cover, Inconel exhaust valve, stainless intake valves. I don't remember what all I've done to it. It's got the red distributor, the MSD actual distributor. It's like $500, the billet distributor for the MSD setup. It's got that on it. I think he's going to keep the injectors, but I'm going to get the turbo manifold. I'm really not sure. I should have about 85-90% of it when it comes back. I can't remember the clutch. I need to figure that out, and that way we know what clutch we got. But it's twin disc, and I think that car, the most it's ever made is like in the 300 range or something. It just never got turned up. And I think Art, I might have mentioned this once before, Art found that there's a fuel line that's kinked, the main supply line. So they have been the issue the whole time. So I guess he had it tuned, and they're like, oh, this thing, it won't make over 300 horse, and the motor's built way beyond that. So, but it makes 300 horse, 300 foot-pound of torque. I think it's like 309 or 302, 305, something like that. Just a hair over 300. So, and I think the torque was right at 300 too, pretty close to it. But I think it was 300 at least. So 300 and 300 right in there somewhere. But that's what'll be going back in the hatch. If I had the time, I would paint the engine bay and do a bunch of stuff inside there, but I don't have time to do all that and this, and you know, I'm struggling to find somebody to paint and do any kind of body work as it is. You've seen the S13 that I put the janky looking tubs in. Nobody would, the body work, nobody would finish it. Everybody that said they would come didn't show up. I offered to pay people, nobody would do it. I don't know. I told them price it, didn't come do it, nobody would. So I ended up just doing that myself, and I don't know anything about body work. I ain't even trying to lie about that. And there's the 14. Yeah, it's done minus some interior work. Probably could use some plugs. I think it's got a miss in it where it's just sat here, and we crank it every now and then. Everybody wants to, ooh, let's see the flames, and I'll warm it up, and sometimes we'll warm it up, rev it up, and act crazy with it. But for 200 and something horse, 250, 60 some odd horse, it's a novelty thing. It feels like, so like when you pull out, it feels like something in the rear end's kind of doing some kind of something. I think I'm gonna put it on the lift maybe tomorrow or the next day, so I may not haul it. I don't want to check that rear end before I end up being done with that car to go home. And this one I don't really want to run it much until it's tuned, besides getting the coolant, all that stuff worked out. And yeah, so all right, enough jibber jabber. Shout out Taylor Ray. All right, here we go.
I'm feeling high.